What's going on, growers? It's James Prigioni coming to you live from Jersey. Today, I'm going to show you the one thing I'm doing that eliminates 90% of pest problems in the garden and show you how well the garden's growing as a result. Let's go! I need to start out by showing you how well some of these beds are growing. The plants in them look incredible. Check out this lettuce right here, ready to be harvested. We're gonna grab some in just a bit. Look at the sorrel. Look at the color of the veins in here. The reds with the green, incredible. Come this way. Check out these brassicas. The color, the health. Look at the beauty. The vibrance, I mean, the vitality. Look at these purples popping. Not one insect bite or any insect damage. Notice that. The broccoli over here, looking so healthy. Next to us, we've got some beets. That is gonna be a nice crop of beets in the very near future. Check out the bok choy. Beautiful purple color on that one. Move this way. Carrots popping up, 16 per square foot. Looking really nice. And it's just incredible. No pest damage in any of this bed. I'm gonna share with you how I make it so I don't have to deal with pests essentially at all. Let's grab one of these lettuces though, because man, are they looking good. Let's just take this here, get this one back here actually. Let's really just cut the whole thing out. Oh yeah, look at that food. Homegrown, natural, organic, no sprays. This thing is just grown as about naturally as you could possibly do it. Let's grab some radishes next though. The zlata over here. I'll meet you on the other side. This zlata is, I've grown these here before. They do really well in this bed, in this spot. And look how beautiful they are. Pop one out. Man, that's some good eating. Actually, let me taste one. So if you've never had radishes that are homegrown, they don't taste anything like the ones from the store. The ones from the store are dry, they're sharp, they don't have much flavor, but when you grow it yourself, it makes all the difference. And look how clean that radish is. Pretty good. Take a bite. So juicy, so delicious, and cool and refreshing, especially as it's starting to warm up a little bit. Let me bring you over to the strawberries next. They are going to have a bumper crop this year. Look at them, standing up tall, looking healthy. And if you come in, we've got some fruits forming on the flowers, all in here. Little baby strawberries forming everywhere, some more over here. And then hidden within the strawberries, you'll notice we've got a young Honeycrisp apple. This thing is gonna be a big producer for us in the near future. Before I share with you how I keep all the pests out, I want to show you a section where I stopped doing that one thing, and you can see the difference is considerable. Before that though, let's check out how well some of the stuff is growing in this Vego raised bed right here. Look at this lettuce. Look at this perfect spacing, 4 per square foot. We're using all of this space here. We can come out, grab some of these lettuces, cut and come again, and man, does that look gorgeous. More beets over here, and check it out. More radishes, the French breakfast. These things are begging to be picked. Look at them popping out of the ground like that. You love to see some fresh radishes. Look at that pink. This is real food. Just recently, we got our tomatoes in too. You'll notice them right here. So we're about 1 to 2 weeks ahead of last year, simply because we're doing what the weather kind of tells us to do and guides us to do. The tomatoes are looking beautiful, growing up this string right here, so we're expecting some big harvest in a short period of time. I want to show you something else that's really cool and something I suggest you guys do. It's right here. You'll notice this dill plant. I like to plant at least one dill next to my tomatoes. The reason for this is the tomato hornworms are really hard to see on your tomato plants because they kind of blend in with the tomatoes, but they're super easy to see on your dill plants. So you plant a dill next to your tomatoes, then you come out around the time when the tomato hornworms like to show up. You check the dill. If you see the tomato hornworm on the dill, then it's likely they're on your tomatoes too. So it's almost like a warning crop, kind of similar to a trap crop, but not exactly. That lets you know when the tomato hornworms are going after your tomatoes. Check this bed right here. Look at the Swiss chard in here. I mean, you can't paint a better picture than this. Look at the pink on that. This is one of the 5-color silver beet Swiss chard, so man, I love the look. We've got some other things in this section here, but what I want to do is bring you to the spot where I stopped doing the one thing and show you how much of a difference this one simple thing makes. Right here is a brassica. You'll notice it's got some bug bites in here. That's not too bad, but a couple years ago, before I did this one thing, I had a lot of cabbage worms that used to just decimate my plants. I'll give you guys a clip of a young brassica that I had, and the cabbage worms were just going to town on it. But I made this little alteration and it made all the difference. What I did to eliminate 90% of pest problems in my garden is I use a simple insect netting. Think about it. How can the pests do any damage to our plants if they can't even get to them? The insect nettings I love too because they're cheap. You're not gonna have to break the bank to grab a few of these, and you can reuse them every single year. We'll just take this, cover our bed like that. Another thing is these insect nettings do more than just protect our plants from pests. I have a note in my garden journal from years ago. It says, don't even plant anything in April unless all the beds are covered. The shoulder seasons like April, the elements can be just so much and they put so much stress on the plants, it almost makes it hard to grow, at least around here. I mean, one day, it's a beautiful day. 5-mile-per-hour wind, things are looking great. The next day, the temperature drops considerably. We've got 25 to 30-mile-per-hour winds, 40-mile-per-hour gusts. The plants just get whipped around and they don't even grow at that point. They basically just survive. But the insect netting helps considerably with the wind. It doesn't block the wind, but it just like dissipates it and takes the brunt of the wind and seems to disperse it so that the plants inside don't get whipped around. They get a little breeze, so they still remain really strong. You'll notice in here, look how well all the plants are growing. But it breaks up the wind a lot and it causes the plants to be able to actually grow and thrive instead of just sitting there and surviving. Not to mention, in the spring, if something happens and we get a hailstorm, hail ain't getting through this, it could just bounce right off. And then also, if we end up getting a late frost and we need to like rush, we can just grab a row cover, throw it over top, protect our plants. And then when the intense summer heat comes and that wants to cook up our plants, we can just grab a 40% shade cloth, throw it on top of this, and we're good to go. The insect netting helps in more ways than just one. Let's get into a few more. I cover my beds with the insect netting when I first transplant out my garden because when the plants are young, that's when they're most susceptible to pest damage, to hail or strong spring winds or any kind of issues like that. Not to mention, if a groundhog or a rabbit comes, your small plants, they could decimate the whole thing essentially in one day because they can just go through and eat it all. Believe me, it's happened to me in the past where a groundhog just took almost everything that I worked for, and it could definitely be demoralizing. Another thing is, in the past, I used to have issues growing my peas, and you can see this year I don't have much of an issue, although they are a little warm because it's getting hot today. I couldn't find out what kept eating my peas. I would plant some, they would shoot up a little bit of sprout, and then something would come and keep attacking the peas. I couldn't find out what it was. Then one day, I saw some birds going after my peas, and I was like, that's it, it's just the birds. So now, I cover my peas with an insect netting, and I have no issue. It just makes gardening more fun when you don't have to worry about like your plants. You can go inside and be like, I'm not scared for squirrels coming out, groundhogs coming out, or even birds or something because I know I'm protected. I like to say every bed should be covered to ensure safety and to just make gardening more fun overall. I want to show you how well some of the grapes are growing up here. We've got our Vego trellis, the arched trellis, and we've got grapes growing above. They are loaded with flowers, which will one day be grapes. I'm excited to come through here and just grab some fresh grape harvests hanging over my head. It's gonna be gorgeous. Check out down here too. We've got some really nice looking plants, like the scarlet kale right there. Nice color, good looking plant. And then we've got like the standard lacinato kale here. As you look at this bed, you can see everything is growing well, but you'll notice this bed is mainly focused on a lot of greens because this area gets a good amount of shade from the hazelnut tree above me. So what we do is we just use this microclimate to our advantage and plant some shade-loving crops. Check out how well the bok choy is doing. This thing doesn't seem to mind. Look at that. That looks gorgeous. Really, really nice. Come this way over here. I want to show you another way I use the insect netting in my garden. We put in a lot of time and a lot of effort to get some seeds started that will turn into our seedlings that we can then transplant into the garden. What we don't want to happen is take our plants, we bring them outside, and then something like a rabbit comes and eats all of our young plants. So what I do is I take one of my hinged hoop house covers just like this, I place it on the ground, and then I cover it with this insect netting. This protects all of my young seedlings, so I'm not worried about them. This allows them to harden off before we transplant them into the garden. And again, when I go to sleep at night, I'm not worried thinking, I hope a groundhog doesn't show up, or I hope pests don't get my garden. I go to bed feeling good, knowing that everything is protected. The netting even keeps out squirrels who like digging in my bed and messing up some of my plants. They're not really going for the plants, I don't think. They're more just going for some of the nuts that they buried in the beds. I've told you guys before, but I grew peanuts out here and I thought I was gonna get a harvest, and then the squirrels came and took it the day before. I still see them rummaging around in my beds if I don't have them covered, looking for their nuts, digging around, and kind of just leaving the nuts other places, essentially to just, I think, rub it in my face that they won that battle. When it comes down to it though, I won the war, I think, because using the insect netting keeps them out, which is nice. I use the insect netting for flowering crops as well, like cucumbers. You just want to make sure that when you're using the insect netting, you do it when they're young, and then when they start to flower the cucumbers, you remove that insect netting. But it's super high value to use the insect netting for something like your cucumbers because it keeps out the dreaded cucumber beetle, and I promise they're coming, they always do. So it's really nice to be able to know that your plants are protected. When I remove the insect netting, or if it's a location that I can't use the insect netting because maybe I'm growing them in a row and I don't have a way to cover them, I'll use surround kaolin clay. This stuff is really great. It's a protectant. It helps just put a coating of clay on your cucumbers. This really discourages the cucumber beetles from going after your plants because it kind of gums up their antennas. So it just makes them, the cucumber plants, not attractive to the cucumber beetle. So it's really nice to use. It's natural, it's just a super fine clay, and it's a high value thing to spray on your cucumbers, and I even use it on my squash and stuff. So for some plants that I can't cover with the insect netting, I'll use another form of physical protection, which is the surround kaolin clay. Here's the culprit right here flying around, the cabbage white butterfly. What they'll do is they'll land on your cabbages, they'll lay their eggs, those will sprout, and then that's what turns into the cabbage worm, and it causes a lot of damage. Let's step back to the bed over there. I'll show you, and I'll give you guys a way to deal with this damage. Here it is, more bites from the cabbage worms and stuff. If you're having this problem, that's okay, I have a good way for you to fix it. It's just using this natural BT. This is made from natural occurring bacteria that's found in the soil. So it's okay to spray on your plants if you want to grow organic, like I do. You can actually spray this in your plants and go out and eat it almost immediately. I probably wouldn't. I definitely wash the plants off first. But when it comes down to it, this is super, super effective for the cabbage worms. If cabbage worms aren't your problem, and maybe it's some kind of soft-bodied insects like aphids or something, then the Safer soap is a really good choice. I love using this stuff. Another good option would be cold pressed neem oil mixed with dish soap. Good options for your pests. Look, we take the insect netting off for just a short period of time, and these things show up out of nowhere. So it's nice to not have to deal with pest issues. It's better to just avoid them. But if you have to deal with some issues, a few of the sprays that I just shared with you will make a considerable difference. I even use the insect nettings for a lot of my fruits, like my strawberries. I'll just take an insect netting, make a temporary structure, and then throw the insect netting over top of my strawberries. This way, the birds and the critters aren't coming after them, and I can go out there and actually grab the majority of the harvest when it comes to my strawberries. I do the same thing with my blueberries too. It seems like when it comes to the blueberries, one day they're not ripe, and then not even the day, the minute they become ripe, the birds start swooping in and stealing all the blueberries. So I just set up a temporary structure for this with insect netting too. When it comes down to it, when you have ripe fruit, the birds and the critters are coming after it. Don't be naive enough to think they aren't. Know that they will, and spend the time and the effort to protect your harvest. Let me show you how well my grapes are growing this year. You can see how I prune them. Here is where the head of the vine is, and then if you come this way, we've got one branch going this way. You'll notice we've got the shoots coming out, and then the fruit, well, what will soon be the fruit in the future right there. check this fence line though. The whole thing is just going to be completely filled with grapes. I cannot wait for the future harvest. Nothing gets me more excited than planting fruit trees and fruiting plants and then just being patient until they start to fruit, and then when they start to really fruit, I mean, there's simply nothing like it. I actually noticed there's a asparagus over here. So we've got our earliest perennial right next to a later perennial. We can take this, snap it off. This right here is real food. Let's snap this. Look how full of water that is. Juicy. When you grow your own asparagus at home, you don't even have to cook it. It tastes absolutely delicious raw. Not stringy, sweet, packed with flavor. You guys got to get some asparagus planted if you don't have any planted. Let me bring you over here. I want to show you how I protect my big fruit trees when I can't cover them with something like an insect netting. Around here, there is one pest that's, I mean, it's a massive culprit on the whole East Coast. It's known as the plum curculio. It's an absolute terrible pest because what it does is it goes to your fruit, it cuts a slice in the fruit, and then it lays eggs in that fruit. It's not even eating the fruit, it's just laying eggs in there. They lay the eggs, and then they hatch inside, and then they eat it from the inside out and destroy the fruit. Then it just rots and falls to the ground. This thing is so bad because the plum curculio can go out and cut into, 300 fruit in one night. So it can decimate your whole harvest of your fruit trees. What I do is I spray them with the Surround kaolin clay and it protects them. Let me find some proof here. Look at that. Now, if the plum curculio tries to go in and cut into my fruit, its antenna and all of its reproductive organs get gummed up and it discourages it. So this is a great physical form of protection along with the insect netting. When it comes down to it, if you could have physical forms of protection like the insect netting, the Surround kaolin clay, those are going to be your first and best lines of defense. Then if the pests come in, you can manage them a little bit, but when it comes down to it, it's always easy to protect rather than having to deal with it. Before I let you go, I want to show you the structures that I use to put the insect nettings on. My raised bed is just a standard one with some 2x8s, and then I have 2x4s at the top for cap pieces. Makes it easy to kind of lean on and stuff. Then for the structure, I just copied the top with 2x4s, so I made another 2x4 structure and then attached some PVC to it. I have videos on how to make these if you guys want to make something similar. Let me show you another option right behind me over here. These are the Vego covers, and they are designed to go with these Vego beds, and they work incredibly well. It's really easy to just unzip them. They have Velcro at the top. You can just zip it like that, close, and then zip it back up. This keeps all the pests and all the insects out, which is nice. You'll even notice that I put a lot of my transplants and stuff in here to protect them because I'm in an area that gets some good filtered shade for the spot I'm into. This makes sure everything is protected. So this is a really good option if you don't have the skills or the tools or the time to build your own cover. Let's move over here. So this is what the structure looks like. If you want, you could just use a regular insect netting and throw it over top of this. That works great too. It's also easy to throw a row cover over top or a shade cloth. So these are a really nice choice. If you have a metal raised bed and you don't want to use this kind of cover, you could just build your own cover like I did right here. Same concept as the bed I showed you earlier. Not hard to do, pretty easy to build, and it still allows us to cover the plants and make sure they are protected. Realistically, 90% of pest problems can be solved just by doing this. And pest issues make up a bulk of the problems within the garden, so a simple insect netting can solve a lot of issues. Also, it will help with the wind, like I mentioned earlier. You got a day where the wind's just whipping, that insect netting will make a big difference for your plants. Say you get some late hail, the insect netting will protect you. Say a late frost comes, you can just take a row cover, throw it over top, or in July when the summer heat is unbearable, you could just take a shade cloth and put that on top. When it comes down to it, I think the insect netting is almost like a miracle for the garden. It's definitely worked miraculously for me. Let me show you right here some celery we have growing. Young celery, looking really nice. You'll notice this is in the shade too because celery can grow in some partial shade. So it's good to plant it in a spot where you have a little bit of a microclimate. I just want to grab a snack of this because some fresh celery from the garden. It's absolutely delicious.
This is what we've been looking for, right, boyo? This is the good stuff right here. If you love seeing Tuck in the videos, spam some hearts down low.
That's real food. That's today's video, growers. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. I'm telling you, it's a great feeling knowing that your plants will be safe. You don't have to go to bed worried, thinking like, oh no, when I get up in the morning, the groundhogs and the rabbits may have erased all my hard work. Or you don't want to be in bed thinking, oh no, the pests might be out there decimating my garden, erasing all the time and effort that I put in. This kind of makes it so you don't have to worry about that. You can sleep soundly knowing that all your plants are actually protected. This year, I went into detail how I start my seedlings. I went into detail how I make my soil, how I fertilize my plants, and then this is now how I protect my plants. With all this information, I can almost ensure that if you follow it as I've given it, then you will essentially guarantee yourself big harvests, because at this point your plants should be growing pretty healthy as long as you keep the pests out, both the insect pests and also the animal pests. There's no reason your plants shouldn't flourish. Well, maybe you get some really hot days. Throw the shade cloth on top of it. That will help. I've given you a lot of the tools, I think, to be able to make sure you get some big harvests. So please at least try to use some of these things and then get back to me, because I'm pretty sure that your future self will thank you. You'll notice behind me, we just started to get some of our tomatoes in this area. I mean, I've been growing tomatoes in this section for many, many years, so long that a lot of the trees around this section have kind of grown over it. That's always been the design though. We wanted to grow a food forest. So what we did was we planted a lot of fruit trees, and then while we waited for those fruit trees to get big and to the point of production, we planted a lot of annuals around it to make sure we get the best use of space. Well, the design is coming together now better years down the road, where we have a lot of big fruit trees. See this? Loaded with fruit. Cherries right here, apples over there, another cherry behind us here. This thing's got a bunch of cherries on it. I mean, grapes, hazelnuts. So the design has come together, and it's pretty cool because as we get a little older, and even as I move to a new garden, this garden is going to be less work because the perennials are set up. They're going to be working for us in the future. And I'll tell you what, that's a really good feeling. I had a blast out here. I hope you guys got some true value out of this video. I want to mention that you should go over to teamgrow.us and check out the community. We have well over 1,000 members who are posting all the time, contributing. We're all on there, sharing our information, sharing what we know, helping one another grow better. This way, all together as a huge group, we can grow a better future together. That's really the goal. So you got to check it out over at teamgrow.us. Also, most of the products I use in this video, not everyone, but a good majority of them, we sell over at the site teamgrow.us, because we want to give you guys the greatest tools to ensure yourself success. I also wanted to send a thank you to one of our new channel members, Sam Caldwell. Thanks for being a part of Team Grow. Thanks for having your hand in everything we're doing out here. It's a pretty incredible time of year because it seems like every few days the plants double in size. So probably 2 or 3 weeks from now, we'll come back out. I'll give you guys more of a detailed tour of how everything's growing when things have filled the garden up even more. Just give me one more pan around real quick. I mean, just a month or two ago, this place was desolate. It was brown, it was dead. It looked like nothing was here. Now it's greened up. The birds are here, the bugs are here, the bees are here, and the plants are growing phenomenally. I only hope that you guys get the opportunity to grow a garden in your backyard just like this. We'll catch you guys at another one real soon. We out.